thou art the man. Thou art the man.
Little did he realize that his destiny in the world of politics was being crafted and fashioned from his early childhood. Mr. Stanford Callender would also be quick to admit that he had no real political ambitions as a youngster. Instead, young Callender had aspirations of becoming a fireman or a licensed electrician. However, contrary to his youthful goals, Stanford's active involvement in politics spans decades. He is a former representative in the Tobago County Council, now called the Tobago House of Assembly, former assemblyman in the Tobago House of Assembly, former senator, and former member of Parliament for the Tobago West constituency. Stanford was born on the 11th of August 1951 to the late Greta Samuel Walters and Gerald Callender, but grew up with his extended family in the scenic village of Black Rock, where he still resides today.
I grew up right here on this spot with my grandmother. That was my father's mother. She died when I was about 9 years old. But I remained living with my aunt and my great-grandmother who lived next door. So those were the people who brought me up in this beautiful scenic village of Black Rock. I am a proud citizen of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago by extension, but I love this village called Black Rock. It means so much to me.
Long before Trinidad and Tobago learned of the man, young Stanford was being keenly observed by his primary school teacher, Mr. Whitney Alfred, at the Black Rock Moravian Primary School, now known as the Black Rock Government Primary School.
Stanford was a very quiet and unassuming child, very quiet and unassuming. And I think he carried this with him into the primary school, because when he came to the primary school, I would have taught him in Standard 4 or Standard 5. And at that time, he would have been about 10 or 11. And one of the things in my teaching career, the people I remember most are those who misbehave and those who were bad, and I may have to flog them. So in Stanford's case, I can't recall ever having had to flog him, which means that he was a well-behaved child, he was a quiet child. And another thing about some students, they were very talkative. Stanford was never too talkative in his class.
As a child, Stanford was always in the presence of older people. He was seen down at the beach, pulling seine with the older men, attending village council and other community group meetings, and was often the only child present at these meetings.
And I think one of the reasons for that is that he grew up with his aunt, and the aunt had no child at that time. So wherever the aunt went, Stanford went with her. So if the aunt went to church, Stanford was in church. If the aunt went to a woman's group, Stanford went to the woman's group meeting. If the aunt went to a village council meeting, Stanford went to a village council meeting.
She was my mentor. She was a community activist. As I say to some of my friends, you know, I might have been the only young man in the village that was a member of the women's group. Because whatever organization she was in, she tagged me along.
Stanford and I are related, and we actually grew up in the same compound, so to speak, as we would say in Tobago, the same yard, as part of an extended family situation. Stanford grew up mainly with his aunt. He grew with his aunt and his great-grandmother. And these two women, I think, influenced his life in a great deal. Because of the fact that his aunt was a live wire in the community, and she would have been involved in a number of community-oriented activities, Stanford found himself being carried or taken hither, thither, and yon, wherever she would have gone, wherever she would have wandered. And therefore, I think that kind of exposure would also have contributed to the kind of personality that he is today. So not only did his parental genes impact his personality, but I think his interaction with his aunt and grandmother also did impact his personality a great deal. In school, he was fairly reticent, a good listener, which are traits he has up to today, but an excellent problem solver. So I suspect that once you were talking to him, especially if you were articulating a particular kind of problem, he may not have responded to you the way you would have liked, but his brain was busy working, firstly trying to discern, I guess, the parameters of the issues and the problems. And at the end of the day, even if he didn't say that to you, he would have taken some kind of action to resolve your problems. That was Stanford even at an early age.
Stanford's entry into politics may have come as a surprise to some, but all the while, he was becoming equipped with the necessary tools for him to take his place in the political world. Perhaps it may have been his aunt, the strong community activist who he emulated, or it may have been his exposure to structured organizations and his own involvement in community groups that influenced him into taking his place in Parliament.
I think it might have been surprising to see him go into politics, and he would tell you why he might have gone into politics.
Mr. Wilton Moore, who was Deborah's Moore Midian's father, he was the then county councillor representing the area, and he was on his way out. And the elders in the community felt that I had the ability to represent their interests, given my leadership ability during the development of the community and stuff. But being a young man, I wanted to stay very far away from politics. So, I live close to the beach. So once I see someone come into my home that I didn't know, I head for the beach. Until one day I was on the street and this aged man by the name of Donald James, Seventh-day Adventist, rested his hand on my shoulder and said, "Thou art the man. Thou art the man."
His aunt, Stanford Callender, who was instrumental in his upbringing, gave her blessings, and the rest is history. But before taking the political stage, Stanford occupied another type of stage. Yes, the former senator and MP acted, sang, and composed many songs and play scripts. He took part in many Tobago heritage shows and participated in Best Village. He was also a performer in the Buko Folk Theatre for quite a few years. In fact, he remains involved in cultural productions on the island and is still actively penning many compositions. It is on the performing arts stage he refined his public speaking skills and crafted his ability to capture his audience's attention.
Culture has always been my bedrock, and I think I learned some of that from my aunt who I grew up with. So being involved in Best Village, I then led the community in Heritage. In those early days, I was one of the lead singers in the community. In the Heritage, we won the best choir for 3 consecutive years, and then we came out of the competition. I still manage and produce the heritage production of the village, which is both Christian and Saint Hanging, because you recognize that Black Rock is a fishing community.
Miss Cynthia Alfred, a former senator, remembered first knowing of Stanford in the mid-70s to early 80s during the Mount Irvin Best Kept Village competition. Miss Alfred had the privilege of watching this young performer develop and refine his stage performances as he matured.
So we went to Black Rock, and after we would do the competition part of the community, we'd go back to the community center or whatever facilities they had, and there they would have a competition. But not so much a competition, a cultural performance. So when we went to Black Rock, there was this young man, and he was performing. And he was singing this song with this thing with the dumb boy. And of course, dumb persons cannot speak. but the expressions on his face, you know, it was wonderful. And that is how I came to know Stanford Callender. I remember one particular incident when somebody said, I have 4 daughters. And he said, all of them is girls? It was a sort of thing. No, in those days, you didn't have scripted plays. It was just improvised plays.
His acting skills opened many windows of opportunity for him. Through his Best Village performances, Stanford Callender received a scholarship to attend the University of the West Indies, where he pursued creative arts. This would have undoubtedly improved his whole cultural outlook. But it was not only his acting skills that got him noticed.
So Stanford went from stage to stage, improving himself and proving himself to be not only a good actor, but also a good singer.
Well, I wrote several songs. I wrote folk songs. I am known to be the person who writes all our political calypsos. Every year there's an election in Tobago. I have over 16 political calypsos that were generated over my political years of experience. I did a song that speaks about Tobago as a tourism destination, but the Black Rock song says, Black Rock, oh Black Rock, now you can be what you want to be. Black Rock, oh Black Rock, you can be a cultural identity. Now let your skills unfold to the whole wide world. Show your talent for all to see. With peace, love, and unity, we could build a society.
Over the years, Miss Alfred and Stanford became good friends. First, because of their involvement in culture, and later, as Miss Alfred explains, because of Stanford's character.
As representative for his area, whichever particular area it was, he was a good representative. Even when he held a portfolio in Trinidad, he would make sure that he saw to the needs of the people in his community. So all in all, he's somebody that I respect very much. I respect his opinions. He will tell you whatever it is. He always tried to be honest and fair. And those are qualities I think that politicians should have. Good person, an honest person, a man of action. And I'm not just saying this because it will be aired. I'm saying these things because they are true.
Over time, he has proven to be an invaluable resource, and his conduct in political affairs has borne testament to the quality of his upbringing and the values instilled in him by his maternal role models in his early life. While in Parliament, Stanford made several contributions to the appropriation bills and contributed to the Commissions of Inquiry Bill 2009 into the construction sector. As Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister, he introduced a bill to amend the THA Act No. 40 of 1996 to increase the number of secretaries from 5 to 7 in 2005. This bill was subsequently passed in both the House of Representatives and the Senate.
Since I am out of active politics, I can walk the streets and no one can point their finger at me or accuse me for anything. And then what is also satisfying, you meet someone and they say to you, you know, I always wanted to thank you for what you would have done either for me, my mother, my father, because I always see myself as a politician, a service to the people. I see myself as a politician as serving people, because as I am convinced that politics is about people. And once you are honest, straightforward, and forthright with people, people tend to develop a level of respect for you. So respect for me is me. And I always say to people, my name I cherish. I will do nothing to tarnish my name. And I feel anyone who is destined to get involved in politics, they must be upright, forthright, and have a level of integrity to serve people.
Now this little village on the western end of the island, Lord, is unique. It will blow your imagination. Now I am told that it was fishing and agriculture. Would the main source for support for mother and father.